the marquee game. I put it in last year, given it's Wednesday 8 o'clock kickoff. And we'll just take a look at the betting as we have in a Matchbook betting exchange. Big game. Barcelona 1.45. Inter are available at 7.6, despite winning last week. Draws available at 5.0. Both teams' scores 1.85 yes, 2.14 no. And the handicap, Inter Milan getting a 1.25 goal head start at 1.94. And the goal line is 3.0, pretty much 50-50, but very smallly shaded towards the under at 1.93. Adrian, we'll go for you on this one. This is a massive game given last week's result and for the future of Barcelona, and given the project of putting a lot of money into for the short term at least, and having a team to compete for a Champions League really, as well as La Liga. Where are you at this game at the moment? Because
they've made a healthy profit. They haven't made a healthy profit, but they've got to make a profit again, haven't they? And they need to stay in the Champions League, and this is a big game for them, isn't it? It was a strange one last week. It was a game of very few chances, wasn't it? I think Inter had 5 shots, Barca only had 7. Barca had almost all of the ball. I guess it'll be a similar story, maybe even more exaggerated at the Nou Camp. So it's a case of, can Barca grind Inter Milan down and keep the back door shut? I mean, it's been a good week, hasn't it, for Inzaghi, with that win, the narrow win, and then beating Sassuolo away from home. So the pressure's eased a little bit on here. I still think Barcelona are slightly the better team, even though it's not really clicking for them in the final third. I mean, 4 of their last 5 games, I mean, this can't have happened too often. 4 of their last 5 games have seen under 2.5 goals. The last 3 games for Barcelona have just had 1 goal in them. I mean, this isn't the usual thing for Barcelona. It's just not firing and clicking and gelling inside the final third. Teams are sort of making them work very hard to create chances, and Inter will be the same. But hand on heart, do I think that they're good enough to win the game with the individuals that they've got? Yeah, I do. I really fancy Barcelona in front of their own fans to nick a low-scoring win. That's how I see it. I think you could probably flip the first score around and give it to Barcelona this time around, 1-0, 2-0 potentially. That's how I see this. Inter Milan don't have a very good away record, particularly against Barcelona. Inter have lost 7 of their last 8 games in Spain in European football, so they don't travel brilliantly to this part of the world. So I can't fancy Inter here. I'll get behind Barca, but because of the pattern of the first game, because of Barca's form and a series of low-scoring games, I think that will be repeated here. So Barca and under 3.5 will be my selection.
Yeah, Miguel, Adrian alluded to there the low-scoring games, and at the weekend I didn't think they were impressive at all, but they dug out that 1-0 win at home to Celta Vigo, 7 wins from 8 in La Liga, top of the league. Where are you at with Barcelona at the moment? Because last week, while the performance was okay, the result was very disappointing.
Not very convincing, to say. And even I watched the highlights of the game just to get a little bit more of a sense. But even on the night itself, I was watching the goal show, and every time I went to the San Siro, and it was a Barca chance, it was invariably the same. He was usually out to one of the wingers, and mostly out to Dembele, with him swinging a ball in, and Inter actually dealing with that quite sharply. And I take all of Adrian's points about Inter's form in Spain, and also there's that instinct that kind of Barca it will flip, that they should get the result. And I suppose there is an element maybe kind of dependent on game state. If Barca were to get an early goal, it could open out. But just from the way they set up, from what does seem a bit of a lack of rhythm with Barca right now, and also maybe just kind of a bit of a doggedness about Inter, given the last 2 results they've got, and given that Inzaghi seems to have got a bit of a reprieve, I can actually see this game going along a similar way. It's going to be a very nervous night for Barcelona, I think, and it's why I suppose the temptation is to almost go for under 2.5. Has been suggested, but I think I'm going to go for a cagey kind of both teams not to score, basically.
Yeah, that's interesting. Currently priced at 2.1.
Good price,
Mark,
isn't it?
Yeah, Mark, over to you and you touched on this in an earlier game about recency bias. I think this is probably a prime example that, given the result, you might be thinking maybe Inter could get something here, but you're still convinced that Barca are ultimately the better team here and a decent price still.
I think price-wise, they're probably still a bit short. But football, a week is a very long time in football. We talk about it all the time. And 7 days ago, Barcelona are being talked about as legitimate contenders for the Champions League as well as La Liga. And suddenly now their Champions League future is on the line. So the manner of the defeat at San Siro was alarming. So was their second half display against Celta on Sunday night. It's raised valid questions in possession, quite one-dimensional, lacking penetration, which you don't expect, but defensively lacking or vulnerable, I should say, to counterattacks and transitions. And Ter Stegen had to make some really, really important stops against Celta on Sunday night to preserve that win. So if you're into Milan, you would look at that game and think, well, we're going to have opportunities here if we play our cards right and approach this in the right way. So, yeah, Barcelona have been strangely kind of subdued in possession for quite some time. And that first game the reverse game last week was really low quality, dull stuff. Actually, go into it really excited. It was a real turn off, really. But also on the horizon, it's got to be said, Barcelona have the Clásico this weekend as well. So it's a massive, massive week. And Xavi's admitted that things aren't working. They had 72% of possession at San Siro, and Miguel's sort of instincts and what he saw were bang on. They put in more crosses in that match than they ever have under Xavi. The majority came from Dembele, who was below par and didn't create a huge amount himself. So, but yeah, back at Camp Nou, different set of environments. It's a different match this altogether. And I just think if Barcelona can carve out one opportunity for Robert Lewandowski, he's going to score it. He doesn't go too many games without failing to score or being starved of opportunities. So I'd fancy them here into still without Brozovic, which I do think is a big, big miss. The only thing, I'm going to be a bit more conservative, as is my normal way, but I'll try and explain the reason for it. Barcelona to win under 4.5 goals is 1.83. I think that's a nice leap on the Barcelona price just to win by chucking in under 4.5 goals. What I think's at play here is the head-to-head. So it's only 1-0. So Barca effectively need to win by 2 goals or more to get supremacy over Inter in the head-to-head. Inter will be well aware of that. So obviously if they do fall behind, they're going to have to change their approach. They're going to have to be a bit more forward-thinking. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just try and grind out a defeat by a 1-goal margin and play on the goal difference elsewhere. But I do think the head-to-head is significant there. So something to bear in mind. Barca effectively will want and try to be winning by at least 2 goals to secure that head-to-head advantage.